In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about wanking, jerking off, and frigging, which is apparently another word for masturbating. So let's tune in. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Fola, and if you're new here, I'm so glad to have you join in. And to those of you coming back, thank you so much for your support. As we enter into the end of 2020, I'm super excited, and I felt this need to talk about this topic because it's a pretty taboo thing, and I grew up in a pretty strict household where masturbation was seen as a very bad thing. So I was talking with a friend today about sexual energy, and it seems like this theme has been coming up more and more for me. And since I've been kind of just playing it single for the last little bit, I'm really starting to understand this deeper level to sexual pleasure and kind of exploring the self, especially for women. And it's a really beautiful thing. So what exactly is masturbation? I was doing a little bit of research on this because I found it really fascinating to see some of the wording and where it comes from and the history of how it's sort of shifted through humanity. Masturbation is seen as the physical stimulation of our genitals. So whatever that means to you. But the way I see it is beyond even the physical stimulation. It's about energy building up in our sexual organs and that part of us where they say the kundalini energy, or like that beautiful snake energy, can rise up through the spine and provide us with like ascension or a deepening of our consciousness. So just some little known facts about the etymology or the meaning behind the word masturbation I think is really important. So this is just from Wikipedia, by the way. Masturbation was introduced, like that actual term, in around the 18th century. And there were a lot of things happening with like politics and just societal imprints in like Europe where people really felt like they had to be proper and like show up in this certain way. And I think it also had to do a lot with like religious based stuff. And so this term masturbation, they believe, comes from the Latin masturbare, if I said that correctly. It's interesting because it's also connected to another word, which is masturbare, which was a representative of like the penis, and also meant to defile with the hand or to disturb. So I kind of find that interesting, this word like defile and disturb, because I think that's really like fed us so much into seeing masturbation as this like shameful, horrible, evil thing. But they know through history that masturbation goes back like prehistoric times. There's like cave paintings and all these different things, on pottery, like the Greeks would draw images. Even some like Hindu temples and stuff have images of people doing a bunch of different things sexually. I guess back then people knew how to have a little bit of fun. Something interesting I was reading is that when I think masturbation from like this Christian perspective, it's like I think the Christian church, the Catholic Church, really thought it was negative in the fact that it's like wasting the semen, it's wasting the ejaculate and like the life force, which even some New Thought authors such as like Napoleon Hill has said that it's important to be celibate because it keeps the energy to be used in other sort of creations, right? One thing I had read earlier was about the Sumerians, who like, we can go like super far back to them, and a lot of other creation stories where they actually mention, in the Sumerian texts and myths, it's about Enki, the one god, had actually created, say, like the Tigris and Euphrates River through ejaculation. And also the Egyptians had the belief that like one of the gods, Atum, had actually created the universe through this form of energy potential. So I find that really fascinating. Like there is obviously life and creation within ejaculate from a man, semen. We know that's how a woman gets pregnant. But it's like even at a deeper level about how our entire universe operates. And so what is that about? And it wasn't until the 18th century where things really started to kind of go downhill, in my opinion, where people, we had the talk of like chastity belts and the fact that people thought if you masturbate, you're gonna like drive yourself insane and all these horrible things are gonna happen to you. And it's kind of a shame, I think, that that's happened, because I really do feel a lot of our sexual shame and guilt is around the inappropriateness we've been told about that exists from like pleasuring ourselves. And again, like, since when is experiencing pleasure a bad thing? This is why we are here. This is my belief, at least. So no matter which way you want to like experience pleasure, I think all these ways we have to explore and find what works best for us. And that I think that the universal intelligence or creator, whatever you want to refer to it as, doesn't want you to not experience feeling good. But there is obviously a fine line between us becoming addicted to sorts of actions such as masturbating or touching, pleasuring oneself, and even going and eating too much food, right? So it's about the perception and how can we shift our perception around these sorts of areas in our life and then allow them to start feeding us instead of taking away. And that's another point I've seen with people who maybe do have some type of sexual addiction or like chronic masturbating sort of experiences. I think there's something that they're missing and trying to claim or like cling on to, because I'll be honest, I was kind of at that place many years ago where it was like not the most healthy sort of connection, and I had to learn over the years just how unhealthy that was and the connection it had to a lot of shame and me wanting to try to feel better about myself. So I kept like going into the same thing that was just adding to the shame and the guilt, and it was just like this feedback loop, which was not very pleasant at all. But I'll be honest with you, I am someone who I would consider as a sexual being. Maybe it's my Scorpio nature. But since I was young, I was always drawn to these pleasurable sorts of experiences, I will admit. And I always had this feeling and like I've been told that it's not good to explore, right? And I think I carried that for a long time, and still I started to do more of like the shamanic work and really uncover where my beliefs were coming from and the guilt that I carried around that, or like the energetics that I carried with those different experiences. So I feel like I've done a lot of healing in that area of my life, and now it's helping me to shift into the place of seeing how sexuality and sexual energy and this self-pleasure can really start to like lift me up and shift my consciousness. So you need to figure out what's best for you, but I did want to give a few little tips and tricks that might support you in learning to embrace and maybe shift your perspective on this concept of self-pleasure through physical touch or whatever it might be for you, and to just help hold space for you to kind of start to explore this area in a new way. So first off, just please forgive yourself. Forgive anything that you have thought about this or been told about it. Just forgive, forget, and kind of allow yourself to start from scratch, okay? I think it's easy for us to carry that shame and guilt of even like our ancestors, our parents, whoever, our society, because I mean, look, we're like constantly bombarded with this information and told through like different religious groups or whatever that certain behaviors and certain ways of achieving pleasure are wrong or bad. But I just want you to take this time to just say, okay, I'm gonna do the best I can from this moment on, and these past experiences or events or ways of being or beliefs, they've just been a part of you at that point, and now you have the option to forgive, release, and recreate what you want. Next would be to do some form of like energy clearing or release work around any shame or guilt you might have, or also any old programs and beliefs you might have around masturbation. You know, if you maybe grew up in a very religious home, I would say maybe it's time for you to do some more like research about what your religious text, whether it's the Bible or whatever, actually says about these things. Not just what you've been told by someone else who wanted to imprint something on you. And just allow yourself to search and look at the truths that and what that means for you in particular. Because even in this video, it might not resonate, and that's totally fine. You just need to find what's best for you and clear away anything that doesn't agree with that. And so I'll just get you to take a deep breath, and we'll do a quick clearing around some of this energy using the Access Consciousness clearing statement. So just breathe, ground down, and we'll just say anything that might be in the way of you embracing self-pleasure and joy and love and excitement in your life. Are you willing to destroy and uncreate that now? And you can say yes or no, and we'll just clear it with good and bad right and wrong, pot and pock, all nines, boys, shorts, and beyonds. And just allow that energy to move. In anything or any way that you've seen self-pleasure as good or bad, or as something that it is or something that it isn't, let's destroy and uncreate that. Good and bad, right, wrong, pot and pock, all nines, boys, shorts, and beyonds. In any definition of pleasure, of self-experience, of physical touch that you have labeled as on yourself or as a part of your life, let's just destroy and uncreate that now. Good, bad, right, wrong, pot and pock, all nines, boys, shorts, and beyonds. Perfect. So some other great ways to support you as you start to shift your perception on pleasure, whether this means you start masturbating more, touching yourself, whatever, that's up to you. But it's about also realizing how much of that energy that is moving because of sexuality and experiences of like pleasure down there, it's also just like life force energy, and it's moving through us and around us all the time. And a great way I'd encourage people to explore this is through breathing and breath work sort of techniques. This is something that I love to do even when I'm having like sexual experiences with other people or on my own, is to just play with the breath. And I think this is a huge part of like tantric sort of traditions with the Kundalini. It's about us being able to know we can consciously direct the energy and move it through our bodies. So a simple technique I like to do is to just start to notice your breath, just breathing in and out, and then start to allow the breath to fill a ball of light at that space in your genital area. Just breathing that and making that ball of light larger and brighter with each breath until it becomes like a very large ball of light in your pelvic area. And then the fun part is to, on the inhale, I'll notice that energy in the ball of light. And on the exhale, start to squeeze and tighten the genitals, the anus, pulling the belly button in, and push that energy ball of light up the spine, all the way up to your head. And if that's too hard for you to go to your head, into the forehead space, you can just put it into your heart for now. Sometimes there might be some healing that needs to happen around that area, so just do what works best for you. So inhaling, filling the pelvis with the light, exhaling, pushing, squeezing that mulabandha, that root space, pelvic, and just noticing. Sometimes I like to pause the breath at the top, just allowing the energy to kind of pool in like the forehead and the brain sort of space. Sometimes an audible exhale out the mouth with a sigh can really help. And just allowing that breath and that energy to build in the pelvis and then squeeze up like it's going up through your spine into your forehead, and just feel that. Oh, and sometimes extra pleasure. Because this is going to like build up your energy, the life force energy. I do this if I'm driving, which maybe not be the best time. I should probably say that, but maybe don't do it while you're driving, especially the first time. But I just do this if I'm feeling super like low energy, because it's like pulling the energy up and allowing my whole body to start to awaken. And I find it like eliminates any tiredness or fatigue. But you can do that, and sometimes too on that like exhale, as the energy's pulling into the forehead, into that space, I might hold my breath for like extended periods of time. But again, only do this if you're maybe more advanced at breath work. I've been doing breath work for a while now, so I can hold my breath for longer periods and allow the energy to pulsate through. And I like to squeeze and release the pelvic floor, so like tightening, releasing, while I still hold the breath. So that might be a little more complicated, and maybe I'll have to make another video about that. Sorry, there's a lot of noise upstairs. But that's just a simple way for you to tap into that beautiful life force or sexual energy in a way that's even non-physically stimulating. And then finally, something that I'm really passionate about and I love exploring is sex magic. Sex magic can mean so many different things. I mean, this is something you're gonna have to explore on your own. But sex, when I say that, doesn't mean you have to be with a partner, though it's obviously fun if you have that nice balance, masculine, feminine energy. Doesn't mean you have to be a man and a woman. It could be same sex, just balancing that naturalness of the divine in that giving and receiving sort of way. But you can also do this with yourself. And some ways that people will suggest is that you need to just come up with some form of a desired intention. And once you have this desired intention, you can put it out there into your mind's eye, visualizing what it is that you hope to achieve. So if it's I don't know, you need a new car or something, or a new job that you're really looking forward to, you can allow yourself to really feel what that would feel like to have that desired intent manifested. And then the fun part of, maybe setting out some type of ceremony or just, again, creating the space so it's sacred for you, and do the things that feel good. Sometimes having a bath or really putting lotion on your body in a very sensual way, and just really loving yourself, loving your body, loving the connection that you have to who you are. And then allow whatever needs to come up for you to experience pleasure. Usually this means you're stimulating yourself physically. You could even just try this breath work and see kind of what happens, because I'll be honest, I've had orgasms just from breathing, and those are, I think, a very different level of physical orgasms, but I digress. So give it a try and see, as you're building up that energy more and more, and as you're reaching into that climax, you can continue to think about that desire and that intention. And then as you reach climax or that high state, you can just all allow that to just flow and just move your body in whatever way that feels comfortable for you. And I do feel like this is a very, very powerful technique. And it also connects us more to the divine and what I would label as the nothingness and everything of the divine. I don't know if this is just space or what. It's a very fascinating thing, and I'd love to hear if you've maybe explored into this or what your thoughts are on that. So those are the steps I wanted to share with you around sexual pleasure, using the sexual pleasure to support your life, building your life force energy or the sexual energy, and creating things that you might desire, right? And this is just meant to be fun. So have fun with it. There's no right or wrong. Explore what feels good to you. And obviously, I think the more that you do this, the more healing will come up around any shame or any guilt that might already exist in those places, because this is just us transforming energy once again. So please let me know how you like this video. Feel free to hit the little thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already so you're updated on any future videos. And feel free to share this with anyone you think, maybe a partner. See what you guys could do to explore this world of self-pleasure and pleasure in our life. So until next time, you guys take care.